Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How is everybody? Welcome to another episode of Roll Around Find Out. Apologies right away. I've got some sort of seasonal allergies. Right before I started recording, this 3-inch long line of snot was just pouring out of my nose. So I sound a little stuffy, my throat's a little sore, but I shall prevail. In my last episode of Hodgepodge, I believe it was called, I mentioned that the MCDM, Matt Colville's monster manual called Flea Mortals, being sent out soon. I was on vacation this past weekend, and it was delivered when I was gone. So, want to take a look at it. If you just want a 2-minute review, well, I'll give you a 2-second review. It's pretty awesome. Unfortunately, there's some monsters in here that I wish were in here. When I had bought it, I didn't go line for line in the Kickstarter. I just knew I wanted to support them, and whatever content they were going to create was going to be awesome, and it is. So I went into my library and I pulled out couple other monster manuals that I have for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we'll talk about pros and cons of each, and then just talk a little monster design, because the Flea Mortals has a pretty cool system in here talking about making your own monsters. Speaking of making your own monsters, when I ran my 11-month campaign, I really learned a lot, obviously, but for monster design, one of the main monsters, a reoccurring monster, was going to be zombies. There was a sort of secondary boss, sort of a anti-hero's not the right word, but a person of misfortune, I guess we'll say, was using his knowledge to bring people back from the dead so he could bring his wife back who had died. And for a first campaign, I didn't quite, feel comfortable, have the confidence to say, well, I know better than the authors of the monster manual. I cannot deviate from this book. And a major downfall of that is the zombies I ran, I always thought were just a little basic. I haven't put thought into it, but, I wanted the cliche one bite, one scratch from one of these creatures and you'll turn undead. Would have been cool. I would have liked to have had some mechanic where, every time they get hit, saving throw, or they get infected. Saving throw, or they tick up some counter. Because zombies were a pretty prevalent monster. I didn't want them, one bite, okay, game over. They would have gone through dozens of characters. But in going over these, advice, I guess, for new DMs, everything in here, they should just be guidelines. Don't worry about making a monster quote unquote busted or broken. It's the player's responsibility to find the way out of that situation. Now, obviously it's extreme. You're not going to, give your level 1 players an ancient dragon, right? But there's definitely wiggle room, gray area in there for tweaking. So I'm going to bury the lead and talk about Flea Mortals last, because I want to give context of where this is coming from, information it's pulled from, and how I think I'm not going to say it's the best monster manual ever, but they've done a lot of things right here. Okay. While I own it, I didn't bring down my main 5th edition monster manual, the one with the beholder on it. Instead, I have Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, which is, as I'll read, this book is a revision of content that originally appeared in the books Volo's Guide to Monsters and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. It also includes revised options from Princes of the Apocalypse, Eberron Rising from the Last War, and Mythic Odysseys of Theros. So, in reading this, take away from it, hey, even the creators of the game, or the authors of the game, are revising the stat blocks. What's stopping you from doing it? So, in here are essentially like expansion pack monsters. I've got, mentioned it before, I've got monster manuals for 0 edition, for everything but 1st edition, which I need to try harder to complete my collection on that. With many things, I'm sort of a, what's the term? Completist. I'll probably never ever run a 1st edition campaign or even one shot. And if I did, I would probably use Knave or some other more modern system. But as usual, I digress. And going through the Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, it's got awesome stuff in here. The art, top notch. Stat blocks, easy to understand, given whatever campaign you were running. There's something in here for everybody. Wide range of challenge ratings, wide range of types of creatures. Here's a pretty sweet art. Balhaneth. Looks like the sort of kind of looks like the liquor from Resident Evil 2. Bard here. The Boggle's pretty cool. Bodak. Let's see, what's Bodak's challenge rating? A 6. It's got this pretty awesome ability, Death Gaze. When a creature that can see the Bodak's eyes start its turn within 30 feet of the Bodak can force it to make a DC 13 Constitution saving throw. If the Bodak isn't incapacitated and can see the creature, if the saving throw fails by 5 or more, the creature is reduced to 0 hit points unless it is immune to the frightened condition. Otherwise, a creature takes 16 psychic damage. There's more to it than there about averting the eyes, but I like that ability. I mean, if you fail your save, bam, you're down. Just recently, I'm a player in a 5th edition campaign, and I ran into a basilisk and looked at it, and that was not good. So, can't recommend this book enough, Monsters of the Multiverse. Now, when it came out, people were all up in arms about the kobolds and a couple other things that had been changed. The kobolds, I know people were upset because they got rid of pack tactics, and kind of why I was rambling before. Hey, leave the pack tactics in, okay? If it ends up being too hard for the players, it's their responsibility to run. It's their responsibility to think creative. Or if you don't believe that, or a combination of what I'm going to say next, fudge your dice, lower the hit damage, lower their hit points. Think in the moment. You can tweak an encounter, tweak a combat as needed. Okay, however, last thing I'll talk about here. One thing they don't do a lot of in their monster manuals is give you different levels of the same creature. You know, I don't have them memorized, but as far as goblins go, I mean, you could have dozens of different types of goblins. Goblin archer, goblin, I'm thinking of Magic the Gathering, how many different goblins there are. Goblin grenadist, goblin spy, you know, etc. It goes on forever. However, just flipping through pages, here they have the Duergar, and they give a pretty good story of who they are. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different Duergar creatures that you can have. But, okay, elementals, there's a handful. Let's see if I can find another example. The regular monster manual, I think, is probably maybe a little better at this. But, all right, I'll pull this just random example flipping through. All right. Page 131, Frost Giant Everlasting 1. All right, CR12, abilities, blah, 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 don't really care. However, as far as I know in here, again, it's not the regular monster manual, but there's one Frost Giant. The Everlasting 1. Well, you know, give me something in here to give me different iterations, different variations. Give me a system to raise or lower the challenge rating. Okay? And I know what you're thinking. Just do it yourself. You were just talking about that. Sure, I agree. 100%. Go for it. And not every monster needs different levels. But, again, we're going to get into the MCDM, which I think has a great, great system. Okay. Enough on Monsters of the Multiverse. Buy it. It's a great... If you don't have it and you play 5th edition, I think that's a must-have. Okay. Big one. Probably the biggest book I own is the Tome of Beasts by Kobold Press. And in here... They've just jump you right into the action. Creatures, creatures, creatures. There's a little bit of an introduction. And then, bam. Starting in the A's, we're at an aboleth. Here, they talk about an aboleth lair. Let's see. Going through the Abominable Beauty. Give you the stat blocks for it. Nothing else. Accursed Defiler. Stat blocks. Nothing else. Let's see. What is this one? Oh, good luck with this one, Heath. Andrin Jinyi. Andrin Jinyi. That's as close as you're going to get. A gigantic black-headed snake is over 60 feet long and sheathed in brilliant scales. Each Andrenjinyi is splashed with vibrant patterns of every imaginable color. The air around these serpents is heavy, redolent of the quenched red desert after a torrential thunderstorm. Pretty cool description, cool art, gives you a little story, last of their kind, hunted and transformed. Turn the page, gives you their stat blocks, gives you a little added note, the rainbow serpent. So here we got different levels, but again, not too many different layers up or down. Let me just randomly... Alright. Here there are a huge number of drakes, small dragons, Drake Deep, Elder Shadow, Coral, Crimson, Alehouse, Ash. This is pretty cool. Dragonleaf Tree. Solid book. Just rambling like I do. Solid book. There's criticisms online, which maybe they're valid, that these books were a little unbalanced and the CR ratings, challenge ratings, a little off. But again, I encourage you, during combat, read the room, fudge dice. I'm 100% okay fudging dice. If you are a DM that never hides your rolls, hey, that's fine. You can still fudge the hit points, right? You can make them stronger or weaker as needed. This book is no muss, no fuss. Let me go to the end. There's a villain codex, which these are sort of more generic. There's a bandit lord, black knight commander, city watch captain, dwarven ring mage. These are more NPCs than they are monsters, I guess, but you certainly can. It's kind of weird how these are back here. A ghost knight certainly could be its own separate monster. I don't know why it's in the appendix. Appendix B. Oh, okay, this has got a chart. Let me go back. No explanation of what Appendix A is even for. Appendix B, NPC features. Humanoids and monsters can be revised to be members of another race by applying the ability modifiers listed below and granting the indicated features. Okay, that I will talk about, because that is something that MCDM book also has. There's a list of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, about 22, 23 races here. Gives them ability modifiers, and then they're specific to the race here, but I would label them as generic. Minotaur. Okay, features: charge, labyrinth sense, horn attack action, medium size, dark vision, speaks Minotaur, and one other language. Okay, so you got a system there to build from. Hey, if I'm gonna have a Minotaur, it's gotta have charge and labyrinth sense. Okay, what's charge? What's labyrinth sense? I don't know. Is there something for me to look that up? Let me see if I can go to a Minotaur, and if those are labeled there. Mimic, Mind Rot Thrall. No, there's no Minotaur. Let me check a different index here. Nope. Unless it's in a different spot, not under M for Minotaur, there's no Minotaur. So I don't know how you know what charge is. Okay. Tome of Beasts, if you are really looking to expand your collection for monster books, I rate this one a B-. Totally feasible, but I don't think the best out there. All right, my least favorite one. This one I was super hyped for, and in looking through it, disappointed. This is from Nord Games, the Ultimate Bestiary, the Dreaded Accursed. Undead, I think, are my favorite creature type, and in looking through here, I couldn't be more disappointed. The art lacking, the creativeness lacking, All right, there's ghosts, ghouls and ghasts, liches, lycanthropes, mongrel folk, mummies, revenants, shadows, skeletons, specters, vampires, wights, will-o-wisps, wraiths, zombies, and that's it. Okay. When I think undead, it's labeled as the ultimate bestiary, the dreaded accursed. They're all undead. I go to zombies, page 190. Too far. Alright, 190. Zombies. Good description. Like skeletons, zombies are corpses animated by magic. However, they also possess an animalistic instinct to attack and feed, which makes them harder to control, yet somewhat easier to predict. And they go on and on. Has an origin paragraph, how to roleplay them, which is cool. Has just a brief combat tactics. I think that's kind of lacking. Turn the page. We have plague-born zombies. No stat block. Turn the page. Human zombie. Nothing to write home. Plague-born human. Multi-attack, slam, bite. Human plague host. Multi-attack, slam, bite. Turn the page. Elf zombie. Oh, okay. They have, let's see. These other ones have undead fortitude, which I should point out. I've talked about undead enough, I guess. They have this ability. If damage reduced the zombie to 0 hit points, it must make a Constitution saving throw with a DC of 5+. The damage is taken unless the damage is radiant from a critical hit. On a success, the zombie drops to 1 hit point instead. I think in the main monster manual, also a critical hit negates that. That's one way to kill them. But basically, they do keep coming back. However, 5+ the damage taken, it's an underwhelming ability, I will say. Okay, so an elf zombie has lesser undead fortitude, which the constitution is a DC of 10 plus the damage. So an elf isn't as good at coming back, I guess, because they're more resistant to the magic. But ooh, so for a player's perspective, you want to fight more elf zombies because they don't come back as often, I guess. Plague-born elf. Multi-attack, bite, lame. Elf plague host. Multi-attack, bite, lame. Okay, it does have a legendary action. The plague host can take 3 legendary actions, choosing from the options below. They can lunge. The plague host moves up to 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. Or a bite, which costs 2 actions. The plague host makes 1 bite attack. Your legendary action is you get a bite attack, which is your normal action. Next, dwarf zombies. Dwarven undead fortitude. Okay, we're back to, if they get down to 0 hit points, it's a DC of 5 plus the damage taken. On a failure, it is not immediately destroyed, but falls prone and remains conscious. While it has 0 hit points, the zombie can't regain any hit points, automatically fails any saving throws, and dies if it suffers a single hit that deals 5 or more damage. At the end of its next turn, the zombie dies. Oh, so a dwarf just gets to hang out there? It can't regain any hit points, fails any saving throws. I guess it can attack, but that's the best you could come up with. a goblin zombie. Okay. Same as an elf zombie. Let's look at the plague host. Their legendary actions. They can scuttle. The plague host moves up to 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. Oh! Let's go back to the dwarf one, or the elf one. Oh, they can lunge. Oh, okay. Let's see. I looked over the dwarf one. Lurch. The plague host moves up to 5 feet without provoking opportunity. Oh, okay. Not as good, but basically the same. Let's see. What was the human one? Oh, they can lurch. Lurch is 5 feet. Oh, okay. Lame. I could go on and on. Ultimate Bestiary from Nord Games. That is a F+. No, thank you. Alright. On to the main attraction. Flee, mortals, flee. I used to be heavy into MCDM, and when they came out with their Arcadia magazine, they would have YouTube videos announcing the launch. They'd have the artists on, the writers on, design people who helped design it. Super cool. I was all about it, and I told myself one day I'll sign up for their Patreon, because the way it worked was every episode they came out with, or every magazine they came out with, you had access to all the previous ones. So at the time, let's say they had 3 issues out. Okay, you sign up for their Patreon, you get 3 issues. Well, I said, okay, well, I'm going to wait till they have 6. I'm going to wait till they have 10. And I don't know what they're up to now. Let's do a search for Arcadia Digital Magazine. They have 30 issues, and I don't know if they're coming out with more. I'm out of the loop on it, but let's see if I can do MCDM Patreon, because they recently all went for sale on DriveThruRPG, and on the website I was just on, shop.mcdmproductions.com, they are selling them in bundles, currently on sale. They're 6 issues each for $15. So normally $20, so we'll just say about $2.50 ish. Or if I go to their Patreon, let's see if I can find out. Let's see, $8 a month. Join. This tier has the following benefits: access to the behind the scenes and development releases of forthcoming MCDM RPG. I'll probably buy that. We'll see how that turns out. He just did a video on the dice system, I think, and I think it was a D6. I'll have to go back and check, because that really did interest me. Patreon posts, access to past and future posts unlocked for this tier, and access to their Discord. Okay, past and future posts. So if I go search Arcadia, oh, it's not on here. Can I do magazine? Oh, I wonder if they pull. I mean, it would 100% make sense if they pulled it off of their Patreon. Okay, view more. Let's see, media type. Nope. Tier. Month. I never go on Patreon. Okay, but now I think I have more things to search. Arcade. No. Let's see, this would have been July 27th. So maybe it's been a little while. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay, join to unlock. Here we go, Arcadia 30. You know what? I should probably do this now that I can get 30 issues for $8. Yeah, I'll probably do that when I'm done here. Yeah, definitely gonna do that. Okay. So, let's Bearing the lead, forgetting, mumbling, stuttering. It's what I do. Thanks. Welcome to my podcast. I'm bad at it. Flee Mortals Flee. Right off the bat, artwork is amazing. Front cover, it looks like to be a beholder with these like mini beholders around it. The traveling party looks like Vikings. The back has this black dragon and orcs underneath it. A little digital, a little modern. I loved classic art. I forget his name, but I was thinking about buying an art book of classic DM art. Let's see if was it Jeff something? Classic D&D artists. Larry Elmore. Do yourself a favor, Google Larry Elmore and look up all of the image. Right off the bat, you'll see the one that he did for the basic expert set. And just this stuff is like my freaking jam. When I think like being a nerd and fantasy, this guy just nails it. I wonder if he did any Magic the Gathering cards. Magic the Gathering. Oh, looks like he sure did. I'll have to look those up now. Awesome. Okay, bearing the lead. Sorry. Flee Mortals. All right. This was pretty expensive. I mentioned what it was in the last one, but I think after shipping and everything, we're right around $60, $70, I think. Okay. Table of contents. They've got new rules, different labelings of creatures, retainers, minions, using creature roles, encounter building, and then lists of creatures by CR and converting ancestries. Okay. In the introduction, they talk about this concept of allies and enemies, where enemies will say have like a broad effect where all allies gain a benefit. And so, anybody that the creatures are working with, they get a benefit. And then there's enemy, where they could say, all enemies in an area are affected. That would be the player party. They have a new condition. I believe this is new. A new condition not in the normal 5th edition, called Dazed, and I'll read it. A dazed creature can only do one of the following things on their turn: move, use an action, or use a bonus action. If a creature becomes dazed during their turn ends. When a dazed creature is affected by a spell or effect that gives them an extra action on their turn, such as haste, they can still take this extra action in addition to the movement action or bonus action allowed by the dazed condition. Some creatures in this book have immunity to being dazed. At the GM's discretion, a creature published in the core rules or another supplement who has immunity to the paralyzed or stunned condition also has immunity to the dazed condition. So, pretty sure Matt Colville came out with a video talking all about this dazed and how through research and development they found it to be a pretty great condition, great add to the game, which I agree with. So, paralyzed, you can't move. Stunned, I forget how stunned works, but dazed here, you basically can pick one thing. You can move, you can have an action, usually attack, or a bonus action. Like right now I'm running a paladin, and my main action is to attack, and then as a bonus action, smite. So you can't smite without the action, but I still feel like I'm doing something, which I think was their main point in this mechanic. It's a feel bad when you've waited 20 minutes, 25 minutes, who knows how, the larger your party, and then, you're stunned, can't do anything, next. Well, now you gotta wait another 20, 30 minutes. So that's a feel bad. So they implemented this dazed, which is a very good middle ground for conditions. I won't go into too many details here, but they have creature roles that can be assigned. And it says each creature has a role listed next to their challenge rating. Roles are descriptive and most don't follow special rules. They simply help you build encounters and use the creature effectively in combat. So, unlike Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse and the regular monster manual, they tell you how to play them. Okay? Now, yes, said it 100 times tonight, the GM can do whatever they want, but it's a starting point. Maybe you want a Mind Flayer to be use a sword. Okay? That's not typical. There's in one of the books somewhere I've seen this like buff Mind Flayer, and it's kind of horrifying looking. But just because they have like mental powers, that's their strong suit, and maybe a small description, give me this starting point. I should use that more often. It's a place to start. So there's an ambusher, artillery, brute, companion, controller, leader, minion, retainer, skirmisher, soldier, solo, and support. I think I'll read all of these because I think my job, I feel bad like giving away the secret sauce of this book, but you know what? I bought it, and the goal of this podcast is to make us all better. So do with it what you want. All right, there's the ambusher. Ambushers are creatures who hide well, not just before an encounter, but during it. They utilize surprise and stealth to gain the upper hand. Awesome. Artillery. Artillery creatures fight best from afar. Whether they wield arrows or magical rays, these creatures always try to keep a distance from their foes. That one's kind of a no-brainer. Brute. Brutes are hardy creatures who have lots of hit points and deal lots of damage. They might not be the most disciplined warriors, but they make up for that with sheer toughness and aggression. There's the companion. Companion creatures are meant to accompany player characters on adventures. For more information, see the companion creatures. Okay. Controller. Controllers debuff, move, and obstruct their enemies. They often have crowd control actions that apply a debilitating effect or target multiple creatures at once. Reading through an enemy's stat block, some of that might be a no-brainer. You read the ability and you can tell, oh, well, okay, yeah, I can summon a wall. Okay, well, that's meant to divide the party or separate the character's party from the monster's party. But, take the 2 seconds, define it, put it on the stat block, get a starting point. A leader. A leader is an action-oriented creature who fights alongside underlings. For more information, see the action-oriented creature section. A minion. Minions are weak creatures who find strength in numbers. I'll go over the minions again because it's a pretty cool concept which comes from 4th edition. Retainer. Retainers are sapient beings meant to accompany player characters on adventures. See more in a different section. Skirmisher. Skirmishers are mobile warriors who use hit and run tactics in combat. Their traits allow them to make the most of their position. Then there's the soldier. Soldiers are well-armored creatures who draw the attacks of their foes, freeing allies to move around the battlefield. These trained warriors typically have higher attack bonuses and AC. We would know these as a tank. Solo. A solo creature is an action-oriented creature who can take on the player characters on their own. For more information, see action-oriented creature section. Support. Support creatures aid their allies, providing buffs, healing, movement, or action options. Okay. Section on psionic powers. In my limited knowledge, I feel like psionic powers have... It's like a thing. People get up in arms about it. They don't like how it works. It's not magic, so... in the system of spell slots, how does it work? There's no components, and so they talk about psionics. I've not run into it personally, so I don't really see the issue, but if I were to have a situation where it's needed, I guess I need to know more about it. Alright, action-oriented creatures is a whole section, just trying to find minions here. So there's a section here on villain actions, choosing villain actions, companion creatures, and roles that they can play. They can be a caregiver, they can have ferocity, dying companions. Well, let's read this. Well, I don't care about dying companions. Retainers. Minions. Here we go. A minion is a weak foe designed to allow GMs to create a dramatic combat encounter with hordes of enemies without overwhelming the characters. In fact, an encounter with minions makes characters feel heroic, since they can take on a myriad of foes and live to tell the tale. However, minions still make threatening foes. Killing a minion still requires penetrating their defenses, and characters can't just shrug off damage from minion attacks. So how do minions make running a horde of enemies quick and easy for the GM? Minions are simple to run. Their stat blocks are small and uncomplicated. Minions act quickly. They don't multi-attack, roll for damage, or take unique bonus actions or reactions, so their turns aren't long. Minions die fast. A character can kill several minions with a single weapon strike. What? How is that possible? Minions have strength in numbers. Their attacks can be grouped together to make them deadlier and faster to use at the table. No hit dice. Minions have hit points but no hit dice, simplifying their design. Minions can't spend hit dice to heal during a short rest because they have none. No damage rolls. Minions don't roll for damage because their attacks deal a static amount of damage. They also can't score critical hits. Share turns. Typically, all minions of the same stat block act on the same turn. Since they share a turn, the minion's turn each move into position, then each use an action if they wish, instead of each moving and taking an action individually. Minion trait. Every minion has the minion trait, which affects the creature in the following ways. If the minion takes any damage from an attack, or as the result of a failed saving throw, their hit points are reduced to 0. If the minion takes damage from another effect, they die if the damage equals or exceeds their hit point maximum. Otherwise, they take no damage. That one I'd have to think about, because isn't there maximum 1? Overkill attacks. This is a different section, and I think... Yep. On the next page, page 12, there's a little graphic here that shows it. So if you have this book, you'll know. Otherwise, I'll explain the best I can. Pretty cool concept here. Overkill attacks. Powerful weapon attacks can kill more than one minion in a single maneuver called an overkill attack. As already discussed, a weapon attack requires only 1 point of damage to reduce a minion to 0 hit points, regardless of their hit point maximum. However, when a weapon attack's damage does exceed the target... As already discussed, a weapon attack requires only 1 point of damage to reduce a minion to 0 hit points, regardless of their hit point maximum. However, when a weapon attack's damage does exceed the target minion's hit point maximum, the attack becomes an overkill attack, and the damage dealt beyond the minion's hit point maximum becomes overkill damage. I'd have to read more on the maximum hit points. If it's the maximum hit points of, like, the normal creature, I don't see you overkilling that often. Overkill damage can be applied to a second minion who has the same stat block as the target and is in overkill range. See below. Damage against the second minion is counted as if you made a weapon attack against them, since it only takes 1 point of damage to reduce a minion to 0 hit points. Any amount of overkill damage immediately knocks them out. But wait, it gets better. If the initial attack's overkill damage exceeds the second minion's hit point maximum, the leftover overkill damage can roll over to a third minion, and so on. In other words, for each time the overkill damage exceeds the new target's hit point maximum, the attacker can choose an additional minion to reduce to 0 hit points. For example, when a weapon attack deals 18 damage to a minion with a hit point maximum of 5, the overkill damage is 13. And if there are 3 additional minions of the same stat block in overkill range, they can all 3 be immediately reduced to 0 hit points, since the maximum overkill damage exceeded the target's hit point maximum more than twice over. Overkill attacks can't be made as part of an opportunity attack. Alright, let me just get a reference here, because I do not know. 5e Goblin stat block. Their maximum hit point is 7. Okay, so it only takes 1 to kill, but for the overkill, it would be what a traditional creature's hit points would be. Okay, I want to read this again. For example, when a weapon attack deals 18 damage to a minion with a hit point maximum of 5, the overkill damage is 13. If there are 3 additional minions at the same stat block, they can all 3 be immediately... Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I was confused on if the overkill went to 1, but they die at 1 unless it's overkill, then that's just a bonus over. Okay, got it. Okay, let me... On the next page, they've got a pretty cool box here called Behind the Design, Minion Trait. I don't know... I'm pretty sure the other monster books I own, they never talk about the design. It's the creatures, and maybe if you're lucky, how to run them. But here, it's behind the scenes. Super cool. So, I'll read this here. You might ask, why not just give minions 1 hit point and take no damage when they save for half, like in 4th edition? First, spells that use a creature's hit points to determine effectiveness, like Color Spray and Sleep, would devastate all minions, even those meant to challenge high-level characters. These spells are still effective against minions, just not devastating. Second, spells and effects that deal damage without any attack roll or save, like Magic Missile and Spike Growth, would lay waste to minions with 1 hit point. This fits the fiction for minions with low challenge rating like goblins and zombies, but the balance of combat and fiction breaks down to near silliness at higher levels when the same spells easily take down powerful devil minions. Finally, high-level spells with a save for half damage like Fireball or Meteor Swarm would feel wasted against minions with 1 hit point. Why use a higher level spell when a lower level one will do? Similarly, the 4th edition design could lead to a kobold minion illogically surviving a fireball spell while a, quote, stronger standard kobold next to them dies, despite both creatures succeeding on their saving throw. By contrast, under this book's minion rules, spellcasters still have a good reason to use high-level spells against minions. Dramatic pause, because that is great. While I was reading the overkill, I was thinking that. Why not just 1 damage? Why do I have to look up maximum? And bam. Explained. That's real time. I've not read this before. That's amazing. All right. Group attacks. Each minion has at least 1 group attack action that speeds up play. In a group attack, 2 to 5 minions of the same stat block who share a turn can all use their action to join the attack, provided the target is within the original attack's reach or range for each minion. Make a single attack roll for the group. A group's attack roll gains a +1 bonus for the attack roll for each minion who joins the attack. Awesome. If the group attack hits, multiply the damage by the number of minions who joined that group attack. For example, if 4 goblin minions hit with a group attack, that deals 1 damage. For example, if 4 goblin minions hit with a group attack that deal 1 damage, their group attack deals 4 damage. The GM decides how many minions join a group attack. For instance, if 5 minions surround a target, the GM may decide to have all 5 attack at once to speed up combat, or you may break up the attacks along smaller groups. Yep, okay. I'm going to go back here, make sure I get this right. A group attack roll gains a +1 bonus to the attack roll for each minion, okay? If the group attack hits, multiply the damage by the number of minions. Okay, so if you roll max damage, let's say, I don't know, 12, and there's 5 minions, that's 60 damage? That's pretty brutal. I like that. Okay, then they have some optional rules here. Group saving throws. Optional rule, tough minions. Minions of a higher challenge rating, such as abyssal ghouls or fire giants, make for powerful foes. Consequently, it could break the game's, Matt uses this word, verisimilitude for an NPC commoner to kill such a minion with a single attack. To keep minions believable, you can use the following rule. When a minion's challenge rating is at least 6 higher than an NPC's challenge rating, the NPC's actions and traits affect a minion as if they didn't have the minion trait, reducing the minion's hit point like a normal creature instead of automatically dropping them to 0. This rule shouldn't be applied to player characters. They're heroes who can always kill a minion in 1 hit. They must have tested something where an NPC just showed up and killed some powerful demon that they shouldn't have. Maybe like they're in the middle of a town and a commoner just yeah, that's probably why. And a horde of monsters comes in, and then everybody in the town, 300 people in the town show up, and just one little boop and lays wastes. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Building minion encounters. I won't go into that. Modifying and making minions. I won't go into that, but that's awesome that they right there spell out how to do it. Using creature rolls. Okay, so you had rolls for players. Or no, that was for monsters. This is all for monsters. Using creature rolls. Oh, here's where it said see like more later. This is the later. Ambushing creatures, artillery creatures, brute creatures. Yeah, I really wanted to go over minions. Okay, great, awesome. Then there's a table of creating encounters by CR. Okay, page 26 here. This is a much more extensive look than the Tome of Beasts that I read. I'll read this and then you'll get the general principle. Converting Ancestries. This book contains multitudes of creatures, but really, does any GM ever have enough stat blocks? The Orc Rampart is a great soldier, but perhaps a kobold version of that creature would better suit your campaign. Or perhaps you need an Angolotl, who functions like the lizard folk pterosaur. To expand your stat block options, you can use the rules in this section to convert non-minion stat blocks from any ancestry on the list to another. Angolotls, bugbears, devils, gnolls, goblins, hobgoblins, humans, kobolds, lizard folk, orcs, and time raiders. So let me pull out a kobold. A kobold has the following defining features. They're small, humanoid, speed of 30, dark vision, languages. Kobolds can speak, read, and write Common and Draconic. And then it says shield, or question mark, shield? Shield! The kobold gains a +1 bonus to AC while within 5 feet of at least one ally who also has this trait, is wielding a shield, and isn't incapacitated or prone. To benefit from this trait, the kobold must be wielding a shield. So it's like pack tactics, but for increasing your AC. And then equipment. The kobold has a shield. When the kobold wields a shield, it gains +2 bonus to AC. Okay. Orc defining features. They're medium, humanoid, can move 35 feet. Dark vision, 60 feet. Language, common, and orc. And then so if you're moving ancestries around, you're changing abilities around, an orc has to have, or strongly recommended, should have the relentless 1 per turn. When the orc isn't incapacitated and they are reduced to 0 hit points, but not killed outright, they can make an attack against an enemy, no action required, before the hit point reduction is resolved. If the attack hits and its damage reduces the target to 0 hit points, the orc drops to 1 hit point instead of 0. Cool. I've played against orcs, and they had something similar where they could bounce back, I believe. I am not an expert. Okay, then the rest of these pages are our creatures, starting at 28. Angolotls, these little poisonous frogs. They've got so many different versions of these. So there's the Angolotl Blade, Angolotl, which has a sword, Angolotl Needler, these little what's it called? Darts, spitting darts. Angolotl Seer, Angolotl Slink, Angolotl Tadpole, Clawfish, Angolotl Yegg, Clawfish Companion. Right. Then they have animals, which are just more basic, found in regular human nature animals. Bears, camels, deathhawk, lightning eel, snowfox, swarms, wildcats. It's got stats for bears, little bear. It's got bird of prey, dire bird of prey, camel, deathhawk, snowfox, wildcat, swarm of spiders. All right, I want to read swarm because that's an ability that I've not understood. Swarm, and I don't know if I'll get an answer today. A swarm, I believe in the normal monster books, are that the creatures can invade your space. Normally, everybody's 5 feet from you, but they can invade your space, and I don't understand what that means. If you're trying to escape, is your movement half speed? I think that's what it is. And then you you would get an opportunity attack against you anyways. So let me read this. And looks like there's 2 sections here. Let's see if I learned something. Too many legs for a swarm of spiders. The swarm mobs a creature in their space and attaches to them. When the swarm takes damage other than psychic damage, the attached creature also takes half as much damage. The attached creature has disadvantage on attacks against creatures other than the swarm, and attacks against the attached creature have advantage. While attached, the swarm can't attack another target, The attached creature or another creature who can reach them can shake off the swarm and detach them as an action. The swarm can detach by spending 5 feet of their movement. I'd have to read that again because that seems underwhelming to me. They have a little designer's box talking about swarms, but I don't think that's relevant to what we need. All right. The art again. The art is amazing. Just scrolling through here, it's as good, if not better, than a Wizards of the Coast product. Let's go to a classic. All right, let's go to goblins. There are tons of goblins in here. We'll use this as an example, and then I don't necessarily need to go, through much more. Okay, goblins. Give you a little background on what they are. Tells you that they encounter in groups. They're mobile and sneaky. All right, they're skitterling, a war spider, Queen Bargnot, Scourge of the High Road. Oh, cool. Gives you a little story of fictional goblin here. All right. Here are all of the goblins with good pictures of them. Goblin Assassin, Goblin Curse Spitter, Goblin Lackey, Goblin Sniper, Goblin Spine Cleaver, Goblin Underboss, Goblin Warrior, Skitterling. Which is that a goblin? Why is it in here? It's got this art of like a rat with bat wings. Awesome. Swarm of skitterlings. There's a war spider, and then Queen Bargonot. Goblin Sneak. And that's it for goblins. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different goblins. Goblin Sneak, 9 different goblins. Pretty cool. I wish I would have brought down their regular monster manual, because I don't know how many different goblins there are in there. Okay, Goblin Tactics. Goblins benefit from fighting in environments with features to climb on and hide behind, like trees and pillars. The crafty trait means melee-focused goblins can run into combat, attack, then regroup with their allies. It also allows goblin minions to run past enemy warriors and surround their spellcasting foes to make use of their tiny stabs trait. Goblins who fight at range climb for better sightlines and defense. Maybe you're a master GM and you knew that, but having that in there, I'll use it again, starting point. Now when you build your next encounter, you're going to try to include those. Alright, let me find somebody with tiny stabs. It's capitalized like it's a actual thing. Scimitar, dagger, backstab, crafty. I don't see what that means. Oh, here we go. Tiny stabs. Goblin Lackey. If an enemy starts their turn within 5 feet of 3 or more lackeys who can see them, the enemy must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take 1 piercing damage for each lackey within 5 feet. The DC for this saving throw equals 10 plus the number of lackeys within 5 feet of the enemy. Tiny stabs. That's amazing. Alright. Giving you good context, I think, of what this book is about. Not going into all of the monsters. Let's just do a couple more things. Alright. Creature, okay. we did counter building, creatures. Chapter 2, there's a whole section on environments, and I think, let me go there, they give you maps. Cave layer actions. Enchanted forests. Oh, there's more monsters in here. Oh, interesting. These would be monsters you would find in the environments. Awesome. If I didn't mention it, I don't think I did. I'm a little upset that there aren't mind flayers in here. I have a personal love for mind flayers. But here are some maps. I can only imagine they're going to come out with another sequel. It depends how successful this is. Now, environments is its own thing. However, they also, I mentioned this in my Hodgepodge episode, this became so big, so bloated, they cut it into 2 sections, and somewhere in my email I've got layers, which is, I think, maps and probably creatures that belong in these layers, layer actions, etc. So this is just a little tidbit of environments, but I think layers are more so like aspects of dungeons. Okay. Chapter 3, villain parties. We'll just quickly browse through there, starting on page 346. Villain parties. This chapter presents 7 villain parties in order of the threat they present in combat. As you introduce these villains to your game, keep the following guidance in mind: portraying villainy, optimizing party level, villain party actions, and slow burn. Alright. Then they have a list here. Halloran Yandris. Halloran Yandris trained for battle from his youth. After proving his dedication to the art of war, the human was assigned a bodyguard to the brilliant young mage Lestherius Soldre. When she showed Halloran kindness and trust, he repaid it in kind, sharing his darkest secrets with her. Halloran supported his charge's macabre passions from the start, in part due to his devotion to her, but also driven by the euphoria he feels when a life slips away under his hand. The warrior enjoys killing in Lotharius' name, knowing his corpses help build the Grave Order. Ooh. The Grave Order is a group of necromancers and gruesome creations seek power over the living by defiling the natural order of death. More I could read, but I'll skip. Stat blocks on who these people are. There's a group of abominations, which look like all sorts of animals combined with different parts. Pretty cool. I'll say I'm a little confused as to when these start and when these end. I guess it's its own page. The Black Iron Pact. Racist zealots who wrongfully believe in the superiority of humans, the Black Iron Pact conspires in secret to overthrow the multicultural traditions of capital, proclaimed by its cosmopolitan populace as the greatest city of this or any age. In their place, the Pact plans to institute a harsh theocracy ruled by Ajax the Invincible, the Iron Saint. So it gives you the background, the goals of the group, stats for them, magic items they have. If you were like looking for... These are just campaign ideas. Wilder Kith. Amethyst Knife. Different group. Soul binders. These magic items, I gotta go through these. These look pretty cool. And all right, last chapter. This seems to be just like added in. New psionic powers. Mentioned them earlier, but now they give you like, you know, I guess they're not spells, but different psionic powers. There's no way around that. And then it has the open game license version 1.0A with about 10,000 words on here, which I won't read. Okay. Final thoughts. Expensive. I think it was $60, $70. It's arguably the most expensive monster book out there. Maybe you know of one more, you know, current one at least. Expensive. Do you get what you pay for? Absolutely. Art, fantastic. New rules, fantastic. Environments, fantastic. I'll call them factions, but enemy factions, fantastic. Imagine a Dungeon Master's Guide and a monster manual combined. Hey, here are the monsters, and here's all the tools you need to run your monsters. That's Flea Mortals. For somebody new to the hobby, would I say start here? No. Buy regular monster manual, 5th edition with the beholder on it, then make this one your second one. Don't buy Tome of Foes. Don't buy Ultimate Bestiary. The Mordenkainen Multiverse. I guess that's a good option too, but bang for your buck. Get the original. That's got so many core things in there. It's got like the regular zombie, regular goblin. I would say you need that. Flea Mortals, make it your second purchase. It's fantastic. All right. I could blabber some more, but those are the things I wanted to talk about. Compared to my other ones, and quick review the things in it. I will be using this to become a better DM. I will pull from here. I will definitely pull from here and give them to students in my summer school group or my after school club. Hey, here's an environment. Here's a faction. Create a story. Run with it. You know, kids' creativity is wild. I love it. It's my favorite part of teaching kids about D&D, but they don't know what they don't know. And if you can give them a starting point, you know, then they'll make their own modifications to it. Last tangent, I've got a kid, super amazing. I think he's good. He's an 8th grader now. Been with me since the beginning. Won't bore you with this story, but last session, well, I guess I'm going to bore you. Last session of his 5th grade year, COVID year, the group wasn't what I wanted it to be, but we were running Last Minds of Phandelver. We finished with like 2 weeks left of school. I said, all right, take your character to level 20, make them amazing. You're going to fight a high-level character, high-level monster. So I brought in Tiamat. This kid was a bard and vicious mockeried Tiamat. The place erupted. What he was saying was amazing. And 6th grade, 7th grade, now 8th grade, he's running his own small group, and he's doing fine. He was running Icespire Peak, I think, and that was going great. Group interested. He's doing the Lord's work, we'll say. So to thank him, he said, you know what? I think it was on sale, or it didn't even matter, but we're going to get him Curse of Strahd. I feel like that's something that it has a mystique to it. There's a ton of resources out there if you wanted to research, and now they're running it right now. And, start with these. I'm definitely going on a tangent. Start with these pre-made adventures, but in this Flea Mortals, take what they have, starting point, roll with it. Awesome. Thanks for listening to me ramble again in another episode. Hopefully you got something out of this. I like talking about it. I like going through it. This is a lot of fun for me. So, thank you again, and we'll see you in the next episode. Later.